You need to be prepared for what's about to hit you emotionally, financially, logistically when it comes to buying your first home. I know social media is absolutely flooded with content about getting your pre-approvals, saving for your down payment, all of that. And yeah, of course, it's important, but it's just a very small part of it. You see, the moment that you're actually ready to buy, and by that, I mean you'd be comfortable putting in an offer, let's say tomorrow, that's when things start to move incredibly fast. Like, even repeat buyers get flustered still. And that's usually when things start to feel the most overwhelming. Between putting the offer in, trying to understand your terms, and keeping up with all of those time sensitive tasks, there is a lot of paperwork, and most of it comes with the pressure to get it done quickly. And that kind of overwhelm usually happens when no one's taken the time to walk you through what the buying process actually looks like, step by step, start to finish. My name's Rebecca, and I'm a real estate agent here in Ottawa. And if you want to go into this a little bit more confident, definitely feeling less stressed, this is part one of a series that'll help you go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. This is part two of how to go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. I know, trust me, getting your pre-approval feels like such a big milestone. And it is. You've worked hard to get to this point. But it doesn't mean that you're ready to start making offers yet. Because here's what usually happens. You get excited, you start looking at homes, and you find one that you really, really like. And now you're thinking, should we go for it? Should we put the offer in? So you jump into it and you put in an offer. And that's exactly where mistakes and regrets can happen. Because now you're trying to rush an offer, figure out paperwork, double check your financing, while also trying to make one of the biggest decisions that you're ever going to make. And you're so focused on trying to understand what it is that you're signing, what happens next, and what could go wrong. And because of that, you're not really looking closely at the house itself, making sure the move-in timing works for you, or even checking if the terms make sense. That is exactly how people miss things and where things can take such a major turn in a real estate transaction. So here's what to do before you even thinking about making an offer. Talk to a mortgage agent, not just to get pre-approved, but to actually go over the process with the lender, be prepared, ask questions, and find out how long they want for your financing condition. And then you're going to actually pick your realtor, not just whoever answers questions fastest or the agent that showed you the house, someone you feel comfortable with and who's actually going to guide you along the way. This is exactly where that buyer consultation really prepares you for writing that offer. There should be a little educational sit down walking you through what to expect when it's go time, explaining the offer, showing you what it looks like, what goes into it, and what you need to have ready so that when it comes time to put in that offer, you're asking fewer questions about the paperwork itself and more on the entire process. Ask your realtor to connect you with a real estate lawyer so you're not scrambling last minute when it's time to sign. The reality is that there are a lot of moving parts and people involved in a real estate transaction. And if your team isn't already lined up, this is where things can get missed. Having the right people in place makes sure everything's done on time and done right. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about how to actually choose your real estate agent, because this is one where a lot of buyers kind of just go with whoever really shows them the house, and they don't realize that one decision affects everything that happens after. This is part three of how to go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. So here's what usually happens. Someone books a showing with the first agent who answers, or they walk into an open house and they end up writing their first offer with that person. It's accidental, but choosing your realtor shouldn't be accidental. You want to choose them on purpose. Most people think that choosing an agent is just about who knows the market or really who's good at negotiating. And obviously that's important, but the agents who are strong in those areas are usually the same ones that take time to understand the person that they're helping. They know what you're worried about, they know what you want to avoid, and they know how fast you're comfortable moving. If they don't, they're guessing, and guessing is how small issues turn into big problems. You might need a certain school district. You might have, a closing date because of work. You might need a home that fits your childcare routine. These are the small but very important details that only come out when an agent actually knows the person that they're helping. And this is exactly why before I walk someone into the buying process, I ask a lot of questions. I need to understand who it is that I'm helping so that I can guide them properly. That's how I avoid mistakes, because the last thing I really want to hear is a client tell me that they regret buying their house. A good agent understands the client in front of them and adjusts the process around that person. That's what keeps you in the loop and helps you feel confident about your decisions and prevents, things from falling apart when things start moving quickly. So when you're choosing your realtor, ask yourself one thing. Did they seem interested in you? Not just your price range, your timing, concerns, and your comfort level. If they take the time to understand those things, that's a good sign. And if they don't, That's a sign to keep looking. Why you need this before writing any offers. This is something that most people skip and then regret, and that's your buyer's consultation. This is part 4 of how to go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. See, a lot of people don't see this step as important. They just want to start touring homes right away, and I get it, obviously, it's exciting, but here's what usually happens when you skip this part. You finally find a home you love, and you might still even be at the showing when the listing agent lets you know that offers need to be in by 6 p.m. that same day. Now it's 5:30 and your agent sent you the offer for signing, and you're staring at a stack of paperwork you've never seen before. You're trying to read legal terms, figure out what each part means, and asking questions, all while feeling the pressure of getting the offer in before the seller's deadline. And that's when people panic and they freeze, or they feel like they're taking on too much and they just would rather walk away. And I've seen buyers get stressed in that moment that they don't look, a little bit more closely at the house itself anymore. And they're just focused on, okay, what is it that I'm signing and what happens next? This is where things get missed. And that's also where regret starts. This is exactly why that buyer's consultation exists. It's not supposed to be a sales meeting or some pitch. It's your chance to learn the process before you're in the middle of it. So a proper consultation is going to walk you through what an offer actually looks like, what each part means, what you need ready ahead of time, what the timeline feels like once things get moving, and what can go wrong and how to avoid it. So when you understand all of this, your first offer is a lot more digestible because you know what's coming. So if you're getting ready to buy your first home, please don't skip this step. Do the consultation, ask all the questions, and make sure you understand the process before you're signing anything with a deadline attached to it. All right, so let's walk through what actually goes inside of an offer, because most people don't see this until they're already stressed out and trying to sign it fast. This is part 5 of how to go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. So an offer has a few main pieces. The offer price. This is the amount that you want to offer. So your realtor doesn't actually choose this for you. They'll guide you and explain the strategy and show you all the comparable sales, but the number is always your call. And then you have the closing date. So this is the day that you basically get the keys. Sometimes you pick that date that works best for you. Sometimes it has to work for both you and the seller. And sometimes the best strategy is to actually match the seller's preferred date, especially if you're trying to stand out or maybe you're flexible with your timing. Then you have the conditions. So this is the part where most first-time buyers kind of get a little bit confused. A condition essentially means, yes, I'll buy your home as long as this part works out. The most common ones are your financing, inspection, condo doc review, and your insurance. So you get a set amount of time to complete each one. And if something doesn't work out, you can walk away with your deposit fully returned. Now there's a deposit. So this is not your down payment. It's a chunk of money you put down within 24 hours of your offer being accepted, and it goes towards your final purchase price. The deposit exists really just to show the seller that, you're serious, and it protects them if, let's say, a buyer backs out for no valid reason. And then you have what's called the irrevocable period. So this is basically the countdown. When your offer is sent to the seller, you choose how long they have to respond. If they don't respond before the deadline, your offer is expired and it's no longer valid. Those are essentially just the main parts, but here are 2 more things that really matter. What's included with the home? This could be the appliances, window coverings, light fixtures. And never assume that anything is staying. You always want to make sure that it's written into the contract. Otherwise, not guaranteed. And then there could be the seller's needs. Yes, we have the buyer's needs, but there's also needs from the seller as well. So the seller might need a certain date or extra time to move, or they have tenants that are leaving. Your offer has to line up with what's realistic for them as well. Otherwise, even a strong price can get rejected. This is why offer day can feel really overwhelming when you're seeing all of this for the first time. But when you know these pieces ahead of time, everything feels way more manageable. And this is exactly why offer day can feel really overwhelming when you're seeing all of this for the first time. What happens after your offer is accepted? This is part 6 of going from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. Most first-time buyers think that the hardest part is getting the offer accepted. But honestly, this is where the busy part starts. There are deadlines, there's people to contact, and there's money to send, there's checks that need to happen, and all of it moves incredibly fast. So here's what you can expect. First, you're gonna have to send your deposit, and this is usually within 24 hours. This goes to the listings brokerage trust account, not the seller. It's part of your total purchase price, and it needs to be sent on time. If it's late, the seller has the right to walk away. Then you have your conditions, and this is where your conditions start. This is the countdown that you agree to in that offer. So let's say if you have 5 days for financing, those 5 days start now. If you have an inspection condition, you book the inspection right away because inspectors get busy incredibly fast. What's also really helpful is if you're talking to your inspector before you put the offer in so that you already have an idea of when you can book them. And you can also connect with your insurance provider at this point because some homes are harder to insure than others. Your lender will also need updated documents, so not older ones from a couple of months ago. They're going to ask for things like your employment letters, payments, pay stubs, bank statements, and anything else that is really needed to finalize your approval. Now, this part happens quickly because your financing condition does have a deadline, and if you miss that deadline, even by an hour, things can fall apart. Your lawyer is also going to get involved at this point. So they start checking the legal side of the home. Things like property taxes, boundaries, permits, condo documents, the things that you don't really see during the showings. And while all of this is happening, your real estate agent is guiding the timing. They're making sure that you're meeting each deadline. They're talking to the other agent and they're watching for problems that could come up. And then once all your conditions are done, you sign one quick form to confirm everything worked out and your deal becomes firm. That means the home is officially yours and no buyer at this point can step in. So from here, things calm down by quite a bit, but you still have lawyer steps, insurance steps, and closing prep, and I'll explain all of that in the next video. So what happens between firming up your purchase and actually getting your keys? Because this part usually surprises people too. This is part 7 of how to go from ready to homeowner with a lot more clarity. Now, once your offer becomes firm, things do definitely calm down, but there are still a few important steps that keep everything on track for closing day. First, your lawyer is going to take over most of the paperwork at this point. They're going to review the title, property taxes, any past permits, and any legal details tied to the home. And if it's a condo, they'll check all over the condo records and finances. It's around this point as well that your lawyer will tell you the exact amount that you need for your down payment and your closing cost. Next, your lender sends the final mortgage instructions to your lawyer, and this usually happens closer to the closing date. Your bank might ask for 1 or even 2 updated documents, and this is normal. It doesn't mean that something is wrong. You also need to set up your home insurance. So this has to be done right before closing because the bank needs proof that your home is insured before they release the mortgage funds. While that's all in the works, you're going to want to work on getting your utilities set up. So you'll call Hydro, Enbridge, Internet, and switch everything into your name for the day that you move in. Finally, you've got your lawyer meeting, and this is usually a few days before closing. You'll go in and sign the last set of documents. This includes your mortgage paperwork, closing forms, the final number that you're going to need to send for your down payment. This usually takes about an hour, but your lawyer is going to walk you through each page and explain what it is that you're signing. And the next step is the fun one. Your lawyer on closing day will transfer the funds to the seller, and the home gets registered in your name, and you get the keys. I hope you found this helpful, especially as a first-time buyer. My name is Rebecca. I'm a real estate agent here in Ottawa. And if you are going to be buying your very first home, I do have some resources available for you that you'll probably find helpful. Link is in the description.